In this lesson, I'm going to cover WMI filtering and security for controlling the application of group policy objects. Now, typically, we link a group policy object at a domain or organizational unit, and we would group users or computers into specific organizational units to control the application of different policies. But there may be times where that's just not granular enough. And so we can also use security filtering. Now, for a computer or a user to be able to apply a group policy object, it has to have the allow read and allow apply group policy settings enabled for it. Now, by default, authenticated users, which would include all domain computers and users, have these permissions on every single group policy object. So this means that any user or any computer that's authenticated to the domain can just apply the group policy object if it's linked to them via a site, a domain, or an OU. But you can change this. And there's really two ways of doing this. So firstly, you could actually remove the authenticated users group and add your own groups who can use it. Now, I've done this in a couple of places. So I have a dynamic access control policy that I did not want applied to every machine. This basically sets the policies based on those I've created in the domain. So I only wanted it applied to a single server. So I removed authenticated users and just added in this machine. Same for the IPAM, the IP address management policies. I only want those applied to my two domain controllers. So again, authenticated users was actually removed. Now, another approach would actually be to leave authenticated users there and add groups that contain the user or computers you don't want to run and give it a deny access. That's typically not done very frequently. It's better to remove authenticated users and then only grant the people access who should run that policy. Again, you want to minimize the use of security filtering. It complicates that application of group policy and that troubleshooting, and definitely try and avoid what I have here, particular computers or particular users. Try and base it around groups. Now, suppose a particular user or group or computer is too static. I really want to be able to say, look, only apply this policy if that machine meets a certain criteria. So I can actually do WMI filtering. So I can actually create a WMI filter and then apply it to an application of a group policy object, a link of a group policy object. And I can define them down here, WMI filters. And I've created a couple. So I have a server OS only WMI filter. And basically I'm selecting from WMI only where the product type is 2 or 3, i.e. a server. And from here, I then link this query to particular group policy objects. So I can see I'm using BG info to set the background of all of my servers. So when I look at BG info, you can see it has that server OS only WMI filter applied to it. So now before it applies this group policy object, it's going to go and check that WMI filter and make sure that filter is actually applicable to where it's applying this group policy object. Like the security filtering, I want to use this with care. I don't want to overuse this, but realize it's there. Anything I can do with WMI, I can use as part of a WMI filter. This concludes the lesson on WMI filtering and security for group policy objects.